What's up, tribe? This is In Contempt, season 1, episode 10. So, I I kind of felt like this was the season finale, but I didn't remember them saying the season finale. But if it's not, we're close, because you could just tell by the way things are going that we're kind of getting close to some sort of finale esque type stuff. But we start this episode off where we left. We start the episode off where we left off last week with them finding out about the rap tape, the rap song tape. I'm old. The rap song where the defendant is rapping about killing a cop or what have you. So you know that is just Gwen is just dejected. She's dealing with the breakup from Bennett. She's trying to wean herself off of those bolts, those energy drinks that she's addicted to, and she's addicted, right? So we see them prepping the witnesses, and Tracy's prepping the white lady, the witness who said that she actually saw the police officer get aggressive. Like, her story matches the defendant's story perfectly, and so she's like their star witness. Then they have the Asian guy who said that the police officer beat him up when they had the fender bender, and that he had filed a report, but nothing ever happened. So Gwen was like, I'm not feeling right. Something don't feel right. You know, she was like, something just doesn't feel right. So she sent Charlie over to go get the witness, the Asian guy, because he never showed up for his prep. Charlie gets there. The apartment is empty. The neighbor says, oh, he moved to California. Something about immigration. So that witness is in the wind. Tracy's pissed off. I'm sorry. Gwen's pissed off. She goes to the judge about it, and she's like, I feel like they did something to the witness. They threatened him. They scared him. They did something to make him run. But we do still have his statement. Can we get it admitted in absentia? Which usually that can happen if if the witness dies or something. But of course the DA argued he's not dead. He's alive. He just doesn't want to be here. He's ignoring the subpoena. And Vanessa even argued, we can't cross-examine a ghost. We can't cross-examine a tape. The judge agrees, and the judge says, his statement is out, and if he shows up, fine, and if not, oh well, like, he's gone, he's gone. And of course, Jackson, the DA, he's like, we didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't threaten him. I didn't do anything to the witness. Of course, nobody believes him. Gwen, when she's coming back from talking to the judge, she sees her father in the courtroom, and he wants to talk to her, and she's like, I just can't right now. Like, I can't talk to you right now, Dad. Blah blah blah. So then we see Vanessa confront Jackson, and she was like, did you do something to the witness? Like, did you do something to threaten the witness? And Jackson was like, I didn't do anything. I sent those cops over there to interview him, which is perfectly legal. And, if they said something to him while he was there, oh, well, that's on him, not me. And that works out for us. Oh, what's the problem? So, of course, Vanessa, because Vanessa wants everything to be black and white and clear. And, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. And what she's learning is that there are blurred lines on both sides, and that people go to the line, some cross it. And one of the things that Vanessa said to Jackson was, Gwen may have pushed it, but she never crossed the line. What you're doing is crossing the line. And Jackson basically tells her, put on your big girl panties, or or roll out. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing what I got to do to win my case. So Vanessa is standing there trying to figure out, well, what the fuck? Like, I done jump size, and I'm still not happy. So they find out, so we get back to the courtroom. All of a sudden, front page of the news, the white lady has sold her story and done an interview, and it's a front page article. Of course, everybody's pissed, because now Gwen's like, I can't use you now, because now it's going to look like your testimony is tainted. You were paid for this article. And Tracy was like, I told she was like, well, they offered me $10,000 and I couldn't turn that down. Like, I got a kid in private school. And Tracy was like, I told you this was going to happen. Like, I told you people were going to come to you and offer you money, and after the trial, you could do whatever you want. But right now, and she was like, well, they told me that they were going to hold the article until after the trial. And Gwen was like, and why would they do that? Like, what makes you think that that's what they would do? And so now they can't use the they can't use the white lady, and she was their star witness because she's the only person out of all the people who were there that day whose story agrees with what the young man is saying. So they come up with this idea to leak the article so that the jury will see the information. And remember, she got in trouble last time for leaking the article, but this time she talks to her supervisor about it, and he's cool with it. He's like, matter of fact, I will leak it. And, because Gwen was like, I don't care if I get censured. I don't care if I get held in contempt. Like, I don't care. This is what I'm going to do. And he agrees. He's like, I'm not arguing with you. Like, let's do it. Matter of fact, I will help you, So they leaked the article, which actually works a little bit because one of the jurors actually gets thrown off the case because they find the article in her bag. So if she read it, other people read it. And so that was kind of what they wanted, because they wanted her side of the story to get out, even though now they can't use her as a witness. So we see that happening. Then we see Tracy is still trying to figure out who went to the bar on her. And she's in the room, and she's, looking at this board of enemies. And Charlie walks in, and when Charlie walks in, she's on the phone with one of her little one-night stands, and she's like, look, I done told you, I will call you when I want some and how I want it, but until then, you don't contact me. Like, that's not how this works. So Charlie was like, well, what's going on? What are you thinking about? And she was like, are you my supervisor right now, or are you my friend? And Charlie was like, I'm your friend. So she told him what was going on, and he said, well, if that phone call is any indication on how you treat people, you might want to write down your one-night stands. So she starts making a list. This hoe done wrote down like 10 names. And then she had stuff like the guy at the bar in the brown shirt. The guy, like, don't even know these people's names. And she kind of looks over at Charlie like, don't judge me. And Charlie was like, you my hero. Like, I ain't gonna judge you. So then she starts calling some of the people up like, we still good, right? So she is really desperate trying to figure out who went to the bar on her. Then the defendant, he testifies, because at this point they don't have any more witnesses. All they have is to put him up there. So he testifies and he tells his version of the story. And Jackson actually does a really good job on cross, and because again, remember, they're trying to prove that he didn't know he was under arrest. Because they're trying to prove defense, and the only way they can prove self-defense is if he was not under arrest. He can't claim self-defense if he knew he was being arrested at the time, because then it's resisting arrest. In the video that they have of him, he's telling the officer, I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting. So, of course, that totally tears their case down from the point of view of a jury that's saying, well, you're trying to say that he didn't know he was under arrest, but in the video, he's saying, I'm not resisting, as in resisting arrest. And Jackson does a really good job of making that connection, because the first time you hear it, you don't necessarily hear that. Like, I mean, you hear the I'm not resisting, but I thought of like Eric Garner, I can't breathe kind of thing. I didn't think of it as I'm not resisting arrest. But once Jackson got done doing his cross-examination, I was even kind of like, damn. He did say he wasn't resistant, and I don't know if you know what I mean? It kind of blows your theory out of order. So Gwen comes up with this Hail Mary, because that's all it is a Hail Mary, where she wants to put a lifeguard on as a witness to, when someone is drowning, there's a certain way that lifeguards are taught to save a drowning person, because if not, then potentially drowning people drown people. You know what I mean? Because they're panicking, they're just pulling on anything, and that's really a lifeguard's biggest struggle, is the other person trying to drown them. And so Gwen wants to put him on the stand to testify that this is possibly what happened. The young man felt threatened. He felt that he was threatened for his life, and that, he was desperate. He reached out, he felt the gun, and he did what he had to do. It's a Hail Mary. It's a long connection, but it is out of the box. And at this point, she don't have nothing else, So the judge allowed it. The judge was like, it's crazy, it's out of the box, but I'm going to go ahead and allow it. And, of course, Jackson, the DA, was just like, how could you do that? Like, how could you, like, that's crazy. And the judge said, look, I hadn't said nothing up until now because we're talking about a cop killer and I know how political that is. He said, but I'm not understanding why you haven't offered any kind of deal. Like, come on. And Jackson was like, I'm not offering no deal. Like, what are you talking about? And the judge was like, if this weren't a cop involved, wouldn't you have put something on the table by now? And Jackson was like, absolutely not. And the judge was like, yeah, right. Anyway, like I said, that's my ruling. If you don't like my ruling, you are free to make an offer. So Jackson makes an offer of 40 years instead of life. And Gwen takes it to the family. The father is like, look, 40 years, you do 20, you still got a chance of a life when you come out. I mean, he was like, in 20 years, you can be up for parole. His mother was like, 40 years, he going to do 40 years. You know good and damn well ain't no parole board going to let out a cop killer. She was like, no, we fight it. And she goes on to talk about how you teach your kids how to get pulled over by the police. You teach your kids how to talk to the police. You teach your kids this, and they still end up in this situation over a skateboard. Because remember, all of this started because he was riding his skateboard in the park where he wasn't supposed to have his skateboard. So the father wants him to take the deal. The mother says absolutely not. And like I said, she gives this very impassioned speech about, protecting her son and that, like I just said. So the whole, you teach your kids how to deal with the police and they still end up in trouble no matter what they do. Like, they do the right thing and they still end up in this situation. The lifeguard thing, it sinks. The DA kills him on cross-examination. Like, he got his point out, but on cross-examination, he just, he killed it. He was able to really prove that there's no comparison to someone drowning and what happened with the cop and the defendant. So Gwen is flipping out. She's having these caffeine headaches because she's not drinking the bolts anymore, and she is totally losing it. Like, she is losing it. She went to the guy at the concession stand at the that runs the little newspaper stand at the courthouse, who she has a good relationship with, and she's like, sell me a bolt, like, give me like 5 of them. And he was like, nope. And they go through this whole back and forth, and he was like, you told me no matter what you did not to sell you one. You told me you would threaten me. You told me you would cuss me out. You told me you would, you told me all these things, but you told me at the end of the day, still don't sell you one. So Gwen was like, she grabs him by his shirt, and she was like, if you do not sell me one, I will kill you. And at that point, I thought he was going to break. He was like, no. So she goes back to the office. She is losing it. Like, she's searching like a real crackhead. Like, she's looking for her stash to see if she has any hidden anywhere that she forgot to throw out or whatever. But she is straight losing it. Her and Tracy end up getting into it. And Tracy is like, look, I'm really worried about you. You're not eating. You stressed out. You going through this withdrawals with the caffeine. You got the whole thing with Bennett going on. Like, you are losing it. And I'm really worried about my friend. And she was like, you sounded like Bennett telling me how to eat, what to do. She was like, whoa. What you not going to do is put me in the same category as Bennett, because you know that I'm your best friend, and everything I'm saying for the good. And she said, have you even been reading your mail? Come to find out, remember last episode, the payday loan people kept calling her because she owed them money. She had taken out this payday loan, wasn't paying it back, and they kept calling. Well, come to find out, they have frozen her account. And so they could get their money. And, Tracy was like, do you even know? Like, did you even know that your accounts were frozen? She was like, yes, I read your mail because I'm worried about you. And this is serious, Gwen. Like, you're playing games, but this is serious. So Tracy storms out. In comes Charlie. And they're talking. Charlie done snuck her a bolt. Charlie was like, look, we'll wean you off of this after the case, but right now, I need you to think. Like, I need you to come back. Part of me, I understand why he did it. The other part of me was like, come on, you can't be her pusher. Like, I get the whole we'll do it afterwards. Like, we'll do it after this case is over, but you really need to focus because they're losing. And Gwen is like, I can't let this boy go. Like, I can't have that on my conscience. He cannot go to jail on my watch. I can't do it. So I get it from that point of view, but the other part of me is kind of like, all right, Charlie, I don't know about that move. But we'll see. He did it for the right reason, so I'm not mad. So Gwen goes back into the conference room for them to kind of brainstorm, and her dad is there. And her dad actually, gives them some insight. He was like, all cops see are big black scary, the big black guy, the big scary guy, and or people. I won't say cops, but people see, and they're able to talk about the defense from the point of view of, did the cop overreact because he was a black man, because what he saw was big dangerous black man versus a meek white boy. And Gwen was like, got it, that's plan C. Because Charlie was like, look, I need you to pull out plan C. And she was like, that's plan C. And she walks out of the conference room. So her dad was like, what's plan C? Her supervisor was like, we don't know, but whatever it is, it's going to be good. Like, that's how she works. That's her process. So they showed him in court. And Gwen is cross-examining the doctor that treated the young man in the hospital when his larynx was crushed. And Gwen wants to show a demonstration, so she brings out a little short Latino man and a big tall white guy to demonstrate the chokehold. And Jackson, he objects. He's like, wait a minute, hold up, that's not right. Like, he's taller than him. Like, the size, that's not an accurate description. Gwen was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. So then she brings out a black guy and a white guy that are almost the same height, and close in size. But the black guy is putting the white guy in a chokehold. So Jackson is like, I object, Your Honor. And he caught himself. And Gwen was like, what? That's not right because the black man is choking the white guy? That's a problem? And it was almost like, aha. So what Gwen ends up doing in her closing argument, she flips the whole thing. She ends up flipping it so that basically she was like, the cop overreacted because this was a black man. Had this been a white boy riding his skateboard in the park, it would have been a ticket. It would have been a summons. It would have been a warning. It wouldn't have been a crushed larynx. It wouldn't have been arrest. And the even the DA knows that there's a difference between how white kids are treated and how black kids are treated. And she was able to really argue that point, which I'm surprised that it took her that long to get to the point of arguing that. But I guess she didn't want to go the race card per se. So then, of course, Jackson argued that this is about law and order. It's not about black and white, blah, blah, blah. They're waiting the verdict. They're waiting the verdict. You see Gwen with her dad. And they're actually having a really good conversation. Like, for the first time, they're talking and listening to each other. And she said something about Bennett. And her father was like, I never thought that was a good idea. And of course, Tracy is waiting for him to, lecture her or whatever. She's like, Dad, I don't want to hear it. He was like, no, he's not man enough for you. I said, oh. He said, yeah, he wants a woman he can put on a pedestal. And he wants a woman that's going to put him on a pedestal. And that's just not you. Like, you're not that chick. Y'all were holding on to who y'all were in law school. When he was your student, he could deal with you. But now that you're an adult and y'all are on even playing field, you're just too much for him. He can't handle you. Like, you're too woman for him. And I thought that was deep, that her father would have that sort of insight. Like, no judgment, just, I'm just telling you. Then he told her now about your job. And, of course, now she's rolling her eyes again like, Dad, come on. Like, we having a good time. Let's not go there. He was like, no, I'm very proud of you. Like, what I've seen, he said, I should have come to see you sooner. And for that, I'm sorry. He said, but from what I've seen, he said, you are phenomenal. And he was sincere and really just gave her a really sincere critique, and you could tell that you see the thaw, you know what I'm saying? You see her thawing out because it's sincere. It was no bullshit with it. So then she says, Dad, I'm in trouble. He said, what's going on? She said, I have a problem with money. He said, you've always had a problem. She said, no. I have a problem with money. Um, he said, what do you need? She told him about the payday loan and how her accounts were frozen and stuff. He said, so she was like, can you help me? He said, what if just wipe your slate clean? She said, Dad, I couldn't ask you to do that. I'm just asking for a little bit of help to get out of this mess. He said, no, you're not asking. I'm offering. What if I wipe your slate clean? What do you need? She said, $50,000. I said, what? What? $50,000. He paused for a second, because then I thought he was going to be like, oh, okay, let's go to plan B. He paused for a second. You saw him kind of thinking. He said, done. He said, now I want you to understand, this is it. Like, I'm going to clean your slate. But if you dig yourself in this thing again, you are on your own. She said, I get it. I understand. And she was like, thank you, Dad. And I just thought it was that was just deep. That's why I said I feel like we come into the end of the season a little bit, because they've been battling all season, and for them to have that moment. Then she goes back to the office to wait for the verdict, and Charlie and her boss are there. They up on the roof getting high. You know how they do, y'all. They up there smoking their little weed. And Vanessa shows up. And Gwen is like, what do you do? Why are you here? Why are you here? And she said, I'm coming to apologize. She said, I'm sorry for leaving the way I did, for not talking to you, not giving you that much respect. And, Gwen was like, yeah, you should be sorry. And I think Rookie expected some, well, thank you, blah, blah, blah. She said, well, what else are you sorry about? Are you sorry about giving away my opening statement? Are you sorry? Like, are you sorry about everything that has happened as a result of this? Are you just sorry? And she was just like, Gwen, I apologize. Like, I didn't know he would use it. She said, look, he wouldn't have used it if you hadn't given it to him. She said, look, you're never going to find what you're looking for. Because Charlie asked her, so I think it's better on the other side. And she hesitates. And Gwen was like, look, you're not going to find what you're looking for. You're looking for perfect, and there is no perfect. Your parents raised you in that perfect little white environment up in Connecticut. They adopted you, and they treated you all this great. But they led you to believe that there's perfect out there, that there's black and white. She said, and there isn't. You're going to be in the real world where you're going to have to make real decisions. And sometimes it's the lesser of two evils. It's never going to be, she said, it's not going to always be good versus evil, black versus white. You're going to have to find that gray area. And as long as you keep looking for perfect, you're not going to be happy, because there isn't one. And Vanessa was like, Gwen, I really don't want to lose you as a friend. Like, I really value you as a friend. And I wrote it down because it was deep. Gwen was like, find yourself, Vanessa. I can't be friends with a ghost. And she kind of walks off. No, she didn't. I apologize. Their beepers went off, or their phones went off. No beepers, y'all. I'm still thinking about Love Is. Their phones went off, and the verdict is in. But I just thought that was deep. That Vanessa, you need to figure out who you are. And I think the door is open, that Gwen is open to still being sort of a mentor to her. But she's still hurt. And Gwen even said it. She said, I'm being a bitch to you because I'm hurt. So she knows it, and she understands it. But again, I feel like the door is open. And like I said, moving into, if this is the finale or close to the finale, moving into next season, I think we'll see their relationship grow in a different way. So they go back to the court. They have the verdict is read. And the young man is found not guilty on all counts. First degree, second degree murder, he's found not guilty. So they're leaving the courtroom. And Franklin, y'all got to remember who Franklin is. Franklin is the guy from the very first episode, her client who was off his meds and who ended up choking her in court. Well, Franklin has been popping up here and there. I haven't really been talking about him too much. But he's been on front of the courtroom throughout this whole trial, preaching about the man, keeping the black man down, and the white man doing this, that, and the other. And so he confronts Gwen, and she's like, Gwen. And Gwen is like, Franklin, you're not on your meds. Let me call somebody. Like, you need some help. And her dad is with her. Gwen's father's with her. And he's like, Gwen, I think we need to go. Like, he's peeping the situation. He ain't comfortable. But, of course, Gwen knows Franklin. She knows that he's got a problem. So she was like, Dad, I got it. I'm going to call. And Franklin was like, no, you don't need to call anybody for me. I need to save you. You need to come with me. I need to save you. So Franklin goes to lunge at Gwen, and her father steps in front. And Franklin actually was trying to stab Gwen. So her father gets stabbed. And so that's where that scene leaves off, with Gwen calling for help, calling for an ambulance, and her dad's got this knife sticking out of him. It's in the abdomen, so I don't think he gonna die. Hope not. But that's where that leaves off. So the last little bit that happened was Tracy got a text, and she went running out the courtroom. This was after the verdict, when all the hubbub was going on with the verdict. She runs out of the courthouse. Oh, pause, rewind. When Gwen and Charlie were up on the roof getting high before Vanessa showed up, they were just the two of them up there. He was like, I'm sorry to hear about Bennett. And I'm sorry, her supervisor was there too. And the supervisor said the same thing her father said. He was like, Bennett wasn't good enough for you. Like, he couldn't, that wasn't a good match. He couldn't handle it. And Gwen was just like, well, damn, did everybody know but me? You know, like, he was like, yeah, that's just not. And Gwen, when she was talking to her dad, Gwen was like, that's what scares her, is that she won't find the man that can handle her. And her father said, no, he's out there. And when you find him, it's going to be a wonderful thing. Like, you know, you're not going to have to compromise. You're not going to have to change who you are. He's going to love you for who you are. So anyway, back to Tracy. So Tracy gets this text. So she goes running out the courthouse. She rolls up on this car, come to find out. Remember when she was at the bar, at the jukebox, and this guy rolled up on her and was calling her Tessa? And was like, Tessa, is that you? And she was like, I don't know who you're talking about. You got the wrong person. He was like, nah, you Tessa. And she ran out the bar. Well, it's him. And he's like, Tessa, you got a lot of explaining to do. It's a whole lot of people in the neighborhood looking for you. Honey, Tracy, that country North Carolina accent that she's been giving us all season was gone. And a straight up Long Island Lolita popped up in her place. And that accent was, she was like, and what are you going to do? Like, thick, I can't even do it. But he was like, either you get in this car or the case with the bar will proceed. So he was the one that filed a complaint with the bar. Now, I don't know what he knew and how he know and who he know. But he was the one that filed a complaint with the bar. So Tracy gets in the car and they pull off. That's where it ends. So that's why I said I feel like we either that was the finale or we getting there, because there's some moving parts in there, y'all. Anyway. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you liked this video. It ran a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. And drop it in the comments. Let me know what you think.